If you could sum up the 2017 season for the Carolina Panthers, it's really 6 words. Couldn't beat the New Orleans Saints. Couldn't beat the New Orleans Saints. That pretty much sums it up, doesn't it? Just couldn't beat them. Couldn't beat the New Orleans Saints. Now, me personally, I wasn't that surprised that the Panthers had a decent 2017. As while 2016 was a struggle and a bit of a mess, this was still a team that had a lot of their components still in place from that 2015 team that went 15-1 and went to the Super Bowl and then pissed it down their legs. They still had quite a bit of that core team there. You still had Cam Newton, who once was an MVP in the league in that 2015 season. You have your kind of franchise quarterback, and you had some good talent in a variety of different places. You're throwing Christian McCaffrey into the mix. I'm like, this team still has a chance to be pretty good. And they were a pretty good team, and it was at one point in time last year, I looked at them and I'm like, nobody's really talking about them as a Super Bowl team, but in the NFC last year, it felt like if you got into the playoffs, you had as much of a chance as anybody. And this was a team that had just been there 2 years before. But they couldn't beat the Saints. And that's just the way it turned out. They couldn't beat the Saints, and that's the reason they didn't go to the Super Bowl. But when you look at this team, they still have a lot of that core in place, and I envision them being able to have another good season this year. In terms of players that they lost, I think the most notable one's probably Jonathan Stewart, which is okay. It was time to move on from him. You've got Christian McCaffrey, and you can find other guys out there in the marketplace that can do similar things to Jonathan Stewart, hence why they brought in a guy like C.J. Anderson, who rushed for 1,000 yards last year. They brought in Dontari Poe, even though they lost Star Lotulelei in free agency. They brought in Torrey Smith via trade. I don't know how much of an upgrade that is in the receiving corps, but they could use something, somebody, anybody. And now you're bringing in a guy like Torrey Smith, who's got a couple of Super Bowls in his belt buckle, whatever you want to call it, with the Ravens and last year with the Eagles. So it doesn't hurt to add guys with championship experience. When you look at the draft, it felt like the team needed to address wide receiver early, and they did, taking DJ Moore out of Maryland. The good thing to me with DJ Moore is that he's a different type of receiver than what they have. This is a team that seemed to like to focus on the bigger types of guys, the guys that struggle to run routes effectively, the guys that struggle to get real separation. DJ Moore is a different type of receiver, more versatility. I really like that pick for them, even if he wasn't my top receiver on the board. I liked the fit and hope that he plays well for them early because I really, really liked him coming out of Maryland. Then in the second round, taking a guy like Dante Jackson, the incredibly athletic, speedy corner from LSU. He's raw. He needs a lot of work, but he's a guy that has the athletic package to be a top-flight corner, even if it's just a top-flight nickel corner. They could use more depth in their secondary, and they got some by taking Jackson. I look at this team, and they're still pretty good to me. Like, when you look at their strengths, it starts with offensively their ability to run the ball. You're going to have Christian McCaffrey, who you're going to utilize in a variety of different ways. You've got C.J. Anderson to fill kind of that more between-the-tackles type of role. Then you throw Cam Newton into the mix. This is one of the best running teams in the National Football League if they are consistent with their effort and focus in that area, if they are consistent with their desire to do it. This team can get yardage in chunks on the ground in a variety of different ways. And then when you look at their defense and their ability to stop the run, I've talked about it a lot. If you can run the ball and you can stop the run, you have a chance. Just like on the flip side, if you can throw the ball effectively and get hit for some big plays offensively, and you can get after opposing teams' quarterbacks on a consistent basis, that's another way to win. There are lots of ways to win in the NFL. But for a lot of teams, if you can run the ball effectively and you can stop the run, like the Panthers did in 2015, you can go 15-1 and make it to the Super Bowl. Especially if you get some big plays out of your quarterback in the passing game. I'm not envisioning a 2015 type of season here for the Panthers. I'm just saying some of that formula for success is still there. And this is also a team with still quite a bit of its core from that season a couple of years ago in place. They have some big games, some championship level type of experience there. And that most certainly helps. This is a team that knows they can get down and they believe in themselves because they've been able to come back before. This is a team that knows what it takes to win and win in some tough spots and in some big games. But here's what could hold them back. The receivers. Yeah, DJ Moore is nice, but DJ Moore is still a rookie. And a lot of times rookie wide receivers don't contribute in a big way. And I wonder how he's going to fit into this offense right away and what type of chemistry him and Cam Newton are going to develop from the jump. Then when you look outside of that, you're relying on guys like Devin Funchess and Torrey Smith, not inciting the most amount of confidence, that's for sure. I still have concerns about this team's ability to protect Cam Newton in the passing game, specifically their offensive tackles. I still feel like leave quite a bit to be desired. They haven't really done a great job of addressing that position, and it worries me because you need to keep Cam healthy, you need to keep him upright. I worry about their offensive line's ability to protect him effectively. And then I worry about Cam Newton and his efficiency. The fact is, after that MVP season, he just hasn't been the same player. He was all right in 2017, but it's really, really hard to win in the NFL, even with the different things Cam Newton can do with his legs and some of the big plays he can hit in the passing game. When you have the amount of ups and downs you can have with Cam in terms of his accuracy as a pocket passer. You'll have some games where it doesn't matter, and you'll have some games he'll be really on point. He'll be as good as anybody. And then you'll have those other games where he's just beat down, brutal, booty bad. And they've got to figure a way to, even if he's less spectacular a little more often, to have him be less beat down, big time, booty bad. Less of that. You can balance it out and even it out a little bit. This offense could be better, and this team could be better as a result. When I look ahead to the schedule for the Panthers in this upcoming season, I look a lot. The last 7 weeks of the season to me is really going to tell you what type of team you have. Like I look weeks 11 through 14. There's a chance there for the Panthers to do some damage, even with 3 of those 4 games being on the road. They got to go to Detroit, then they host Seattle, they go to Tampa, they go to Cleveland. The point being is the Panthers should be able to have a chance to win all 4 of those games. I'm not saying they will, but they have to come out of that stretch of 4 games at least 3-1. It would be ideal for them to go 4-0, especially when you look at the last 3 weeks of the season. The team they couldn't beat last year, the Saints, they got them week 15 at home and then week 17 on the road, and sandwiched in between, oh, you got Atlanta coming to Carolina. Yeehaw, enjoy that one. So there's a blended mix there for the Panthers in the terms of 4 of their last 7 games are on the road. 4 of their last 7 games are against divisional opponents. But that schedule weeks 11 through 14 isn't all that particularly difficult. That last 3 weeks, they could do a lot of damage for themselves and to others. I like this Panthers team. I don't like them as much as the Falcons, but I like them. I feel like this is still at least a 10-win football team. They're going to finish second in this division. They'll probably make the playoffs. And as was the case last year in the NFC, regardless of record or seeding or anything else, if you get into the playoffs, that means you were really, really good in the NFC, and that means you got a chance. And I feel like the Panthers, if Cam can be right, and they can run the ball and play the type of run defense they did before, this is a team that could get into the playoffs and make some damage happen.